We're making salan walah chawal today. It's essentially three things. So it's rice, it's mutton traditionally, but we're going to use lamb today. In on top of that, black cardamom is the key. Salan walah chawal is typical Kashmiri Pandit food in that it is very elegant, but it takes quite a lot of time. Around 4 hours to do it really properly. It's essentially all about the browning of the meat. So we're going to start here at the bench. So we're putting sunflower oil in the pot, ghee, and then I'm going to heat this and put in 1.5 cups of yogurt. That just goes in. Now we do use the bones as well, so you can see in terms of the cut of the meat, this is actually it's really chunky, and the reason it's really chunky, that bit might be a bit too big. If the meat chunks are too small, through that browning process, they're basically going to fall apart. And at the end result of the dish, you actually want rice with formed meat pieces in there. So the first time I made it, I made that mistake and not anymore. So I asked the butcher to cut the lamb for me and then just to keep it like 2-inch chunks. So that just goes in and the heat gets kept on high. So what we want to do is put the meat in and draw all of the fat and the liquid out of the meat and then reduce that right down, and that's going to take about 30 minutes. Yep, so I wanted to show you where the food comes from. So mum and dad, but Kashmir itself. But this is Kashmir. You can see the mountains, you can see the forest and the valley. When we're cooking, that's what we're translating. Mountain climates are hard climates, and so the food you're eating in that climate has got to be deep with flavour. It takes time to translate that, and that's what these dishes are about. They're about time. All right, so because this dish is only rice and lamb, it's really important that every element tastes amazing. So we're using basmati rice, always basmati. Time in water has rice bloom essentially, and so the flavour profile of the rice is drawn out, so all of those nutty characters and the sweetness that's inherent in a really beautiful aged rice become more predominant. Just while we're starting the browning process, I'm going to soak this rice. So you just want to give it a good rinse. And what you're looking for is the water to become less opaque, so drawing the starch out of the rice as you're rinsing it. So that's basically just going to sit there, and that needs half an hour at least. So the browning of the meat will take a couple of hours, so we're okay. One thing we do have to do for this dish is make the chili water. In order to infuse the meat, we start adding back a little bit of this yogurt chili water. I'm going to add some Kashmiri chili, dried ginger, and then this gets a tablespoon of yogurt as well. So this is what we're going to use to brown the meat off. So it really is a little bit at a time, so like 2 tablespoons at a time. Enough liquid to brown off into, and not more. You can see how rich this meat is, and now we're going to add the spicing. What we're creating is a simplistic kind of a spice blend, but this backbone of smoke and texture and a really earthy sweetness, which is really typical of Kashmiri food. The funny thing about salan walah chawal is I actually didn't really love it growing up. The black cardamom, without a lot of other spice around it, comes through really strongly, and black cardamom is an incredibly adult flavour profile. It's, I think, the smoke and the char in it that makes it not particularly child-friendly all of the time. Last is asafoetida. In Kashmiri Pandit cooking, we don't use garlic and onion. So in order to replace what garlic and onion contribute to a dish from a spice context, and that is that sulfuric quality and a slight astringent quality as well, we use asafoetida, which is the resin of a tree. When my dad died when I was older, or just a few years back, this is the one dish that reminds me the most of him, and it's the one I crave now as an adult. Oh my gosh, it's meaty and oily. The rice goes in at this point. But what you want to do is cook this for around 40 minutes. The end result is so beautiful and so elegant, and it's so him that it's always worth the time. There's a lot of steps and there's a lot of nuance, but it's the sort of flavour of India that you would very rarely find outside of a Kashmiri home. What this dish doesn't tell you by its appearance is how rich and layered and sweet and soft and strong this flavour is. Black cardamom is really redolent. Asafoetida gives it a delicacy right at the back palate. That is Kashmir in a bowl. That's my family in a bowl. It's worth every single minute of the time that took to make. Yum.